George Washington was the first. Abraham Lincoln, in my opinion, was one of the most critical. Theodore Roosevelt, on the other hand, was the most ambitious. In a world where politicians are famous for talking the talk, Teddy Roosevelt, inspired by doing, you can too.
Already he has written more than a dozen books on history, nature, and political philosophy. One of them dictated while shaving. He believes, he says, in the strenuous life. Theodore Roosevelt is not only the President of the United States, he is the most entertaining man in America, and the people love him.
The great fundamental issue now before our people can be stated briefly. It is, are the American people fit to govern themselves, to rule themselves, to control themselves? I believe they are.
The most important single ingredient in the formula of success is knowing how to get along with people.
You don't think of Theodore Roosevelt and say, oh, politician. We call him everything else but. We don't have a love affair in this country with politicians. We see them as being kind of corrupt or in it for themselves. We never feel Theodore Roosevelt was in it for himself.
Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
I intend to see that the rich man is held to the same accountability as the poor man. We are a new people. We are Americans. The worst thing that any man can do is to discriminate against fellow Americans because of race, speech, or religion.
Great thoughts speak only to the thoughtful mind, but great actions speak to all mankind.
TR's order is what every soldier wants to hear. He didn't say charge, he said follow me.
Men fell all around him. He himself was nicked on his arm with shrapnel. Nobody who saw him go up the hill believed he'd ever come back alive. It was a fierce, fierce battle.
With self-discipline, most anything is possible.
I believe in the right of the people to rule. I believe that the majority of the plain people of the United States will, day in and day out, make fewer mistakes in governing themselves than any smaller class or body of men, no matter what their training, will make in trying to govern them. I believe again that the American people are, as a whole, capable of self-control and of learning by their mistakes.
The worst of all fears is the fear of living.
The expedition to the Brazilian wilderness in 1913, 1914, he'd been advised not to go on either one of them. Sleeping sickness they were afraid of, the danger of wild animals, all that sort of thing. After all, he was more or less blind in one eye from a boxing accident in the White House. And certainly after he survived the first safari, the first expedition, when it came to the second one in 1913-14, when he was into his mid-50s and not in the greatest of health, there were those who said he shouldn't do it. And one thing he said to them was he had to go. It was his last chance to be a boy.
The only man who never makes a mistake is the man who never does anything.
I have not been able to think out any solution of the terrible problem offered by the presence of the Negro on this continent. But of one thing I am sure. The only thing to do is to treat each black man and each white man strictly on his merits as a man. The South is crazy because I have had Booker T. Washington to dine. I shall have him to dine just as often as I please.
Believe you can, and you're halfway there. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Friends, our task as Americans is to strive for social and industrial justice achieved through the genuine rule of the people. This is our end, our purpose.
It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed.
And part of his whole conservation program is purely preservationist. When he went to the Grand Canyon in 1903, he said, "Don't touch it, you can't improve it." keep it the way it is. He couldn't get Congress to make it a national park, the way it is now. So he made the sides of it a national monument and the bottom of it a game preserve, which took care of it until they made it a national park a good 10 years later.
There has never yet been a man in our history who has led a life of ease whose name is worth remembering.
Impatient with cynics, he spoke for a young nation, reminded us of great ends we had to serve, the promises we made in our beginnings. In his faith, we reaffirmed our own. In his burning energies, we also took fire. Because he was larger than life, we too grew tall.
Get action. Seize the moment. Man was never intended to become an oyster.
In order to succeed, we need leaders of inspired idealism, leaders to whom are granted great visions, who dream greatly and strive to make their dreams come true, who can kindle the people with the fire from their own burning souls. The leader, for the time being, whoever he may be, is but an instrument to be used until broken and then to be cast aside. And if he is worth his salt, he will care no more when he is broken than a soldier cares when he is sent where his life is forfeit, in order that the victory may be won. In the long fight for righteousness, the watchword for all of us is spend and be spent.
Thank you so much for watching. You didn't have enough, right? Discover more clicking the link to our blog, where you'll find our articles and other cool stuff like Biosart. We didn't add your favorite quote? Forgive us, and please leave us a comment below. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Fans of Kindness, our Facebook page, is also waiting for you. I assure you this will give you the inspiration you need. See you in the next video. Subscribe by clicking here and you will not miss the next one. Until then, be your best and spread kindness.